So in today's video, we are going to be doing an unboxing and first impressions of a gimbal that was alerted to me that was coming out maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago and was finally announced a little bit over a week ago. I'm really excited because not only will it work with the Red Komodo as far as balancing, but it'll also work with a Pocket 4K and 6K with a cage and potentially a Sigma 18 to 35. And that gimbal is the Zhiyun Crane 2S. Thank you, Geoff, for sending it out to me. This will be an unbiased first impressions, even though they sent it out to me. Everything I say in this video is my opinion, and we'll talk about it more after this. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Geoff Fagien. I'm a filmmaker and director of photography based in South Florida. And in today's video, like I said, we are going to do an unboxing and first impressions of the Zhiyun Crane 2S. Now, like I did mention, I am very excited because I'll be able to pretty much put a fully kitted out Blackmagic Pocket 4K on this gimbal. And it's a one-handed gimbal. I couldn't even do that on my Ronin M, and definitely couldn't do that on the Weebill S. The Weebill S, it was hard enough to put lenses on the Pocket 4K, and weirdly enough, like you may have seen, I did things with like the Red Komodo on the Weebill S. This Crane 2 has a much higher payload capacity than the Weebill, not as high as their Crane 3S, but definitely a higher payload capacity than the Weebill. So let's get started with this unboxing. So we have the batteries, which look like the same batteries that were in the Weebill S, but 3 of them this time. We've got the gimbal. It's definitely a lot bigger than the Weebill S, which is good and bad. Bad just because it's not as small, but at the same time, it's much smaller than something like a Ronin M or a Ronin. And it explains why the payload capacity is much higher than the Weebill S. I really like this case. I don't know if I would use it all the time, but the fact that this is a case that I can travel with, at least locally, that's nice. So here is the charger for the batteries, pretty similar to the Weebill S. Just an extra cage here. They work pretty quick. I'm able to charge my Weebill S relatively quickly. So here is... I guess this is, I think this is the mounting bracket for the gimbal. Here is the stand for the gimbal, and it's a lot more sturdy than the Weebill S one. When you first look at it, it looks like it's the same from the outside, and then the two differences, as you can tell right here, this is a little wider. And the bottom right here, the bottom is a little bit of a different material. I think this material will last a little bit longer than the bottom of the Weebill S, which wasn't bad by any means. I guess, it's good whenever they come out with a new product. There's just subtle improvements that they learn from their other lines. And then we have the riser right here, which, to be fair, I don't really use too much. It does look like they've improved this riser over what they did before. Interesting. Keep it right here. You've got the nice good old cable box. Comes with, okay, so cool. So it comes with a decent amount of cables. So I'm wondering what the compatibility is going to be. So we've got a USB-C to USB-C. We have a USB-C to micro USB. We've got a USB-C to USB mini. We've got another USB-C to micro USB. And then the charger cord. So one thing they don't do on these gimbals that I noticed once I put it together is all of the threading for this plate is typical 1/4 inch. For cameras like the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, it totally makes sense. For cameras like the Komodo, where it has the 1/4 and the 3/8, it would be nice to be able to put both on. But, you got to work with what you have. So let's put on this 1/4 inch and get this thing balanced. Another thing worth noting, so the new screws right here, not only do they have a flathead, which I'll crop in and post, so they have a flathead, but then they also have a hex with the that you can use with the hex tool that they include. So that's pretty cool. If you're in a situation where you're switching between the flathead, the hex, whatever you want to use, you can use both on this, which is pretty cool. Oh, and you know what? There's one thing I forgot to do, which we're gonna have to do before the Komodo even comes on, which is a cool thing that a lot of the YouTubers have notated, and it comes with the hex, by the way, to do it yourself, so you don't have to go, figure out how to unscrew it. Basically, you take these screws. Let's see, this one is for these little ones. I'll show you guys on here. So you can take the arm and lower it, this back arm right here, for the roll arm. And by lowering it, not only, a lot of people are doing it so they could see their monitor easier, but actually there's another purpose of doing that, and it's when you're using the Komodo, you can balance it a little bit more properly. Alrighty, finally, we have now relocated the motor from what was here to down here. So once I got everything set up, the camera had like a sleepy sign on it. I couldn't get the motors to activate. As you can see now, that's not really an issue. I had to download the app, register the gimbal, and then update the firmware. And then once I did, everything was working as it should. But I had to go through that little scare. With the smaller batteries, you get full range of motion with the Red Komodo with a Sigma 18 to 35, which I am stoked on. We aren't even at the highest weight capacity that it is. If you could use the bigger batteries on here, it would definitely be a little more usable. And with smaller setups, you can absolutely use the bigger batteries. But if you want to use a Sigma 18 to 35, due to the way the batteries stick out, it looks like the only way to get full range of motion on the Crane 2S is with the smaller batteries, which again, I get 50 minutes of battery life out of this. Carry a set of 6 of these and I'll be good for the day, or at least most of the day. Super stoked though. This thing's very responsive, way more smooth than the Weebill S, like night and day. And now look, I wasn't trying to expect miracles from the Weebill S. That thing was like a $450 gimbal at the time when it came out, so it was good for what it was. This thing feels, again, like a Ronin S. I get why the DJI is coming out with their new model, because I feel like everybody, it's time for them to step up their game. Alright, so now to the last part of this first impressions video. So as you see, I have a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K with a cage on this gimbal, and it does work. But I'm going to give you guys some disclaimers. So number one, yes, you see that the cage is on here, but with the cage being on here, the gimbal will not properly balance. Now, the motors are strong enough on the Crane 2S versus something like a Weebill to where that isn't as big of a deal and it won't impact your footage as much as it does on a gimbal like the Weebill S. But I do want to let you guys know that it won't perfectly balance if you're going to do something like a Sigma 18 to 35 with a Pocket 4K or 6K with a proper cage. This is the SMALLRIG cage. The second thing I experimented with, so you do get full camera control like you do with the Weebill S and the Pocket cameras. But one thing to note, and this is another but, for focus control, it depends on what lenses you're using. So if you're using proper micro four thirds electronic focus lenses, you won't have an issue. If you're adapting like you would to a Sigma 18 to 35, the only way you're going to get electronic focus is if you use a Metabones Speedbooster. I actually had the Metabones Speedbooster on the G7 that I'm recording all of these YouTube videos with, and now I put the Viltrox back on the G7 so I could put the Metabones on here to confirm that it would work, and it did. It worked right away, and then I switched back just to make sure it wasn't a gimmick and the electronic focusing didn't work. Now, focusing electronically this way, it's not very smooth using the Speedbooster or really any of the other lenses on the pocket camera. So if you rather have a smoother movement and you're going to use something like the follow focus motor that Zhiyun sells, then that's going to be a perfect option for you, and that will solve a lot of your issues. But if you were planning on just using the electronic follow focusing to do light repositioning of your focusing, well, you're going to have to use a Metabones Speedbooster for that. So that's my little disclaimer. The fact that I don't have to keep taking this camera off the cage every time I want to put it on a gimbal now, that is really cool to note. So this gimbal, off the bat, without even, properly testing it, definitely one of my favorite handheld gimbals so far, if not my most favorite, and not just because they sent it to me. I was looking forward to getting this gimbal for a while. Now, I don't know how well the Ronin S2 is going to compete with that. We're only going to know once it's out and it's in people's hands. I'm going to test one. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to buy one, especially now that I have the Crane 2S, but it would be interesting to test it out, the Crane 2S versus the Ronin S2. Yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. Like I said, it was an unboxing of first impressions, testing the Komodo to see how the Komodo works, testing the Blackmagic to see how the Blackmagic works. I will do a full review at some point, and for the next video I do with this gimbal, which I'm actually filming this weekend, I am going to be doing a test with this gimbal with the Red Komodo with its brand new firmware that has enabled continuous autofocus for the Sigma 18-35. So I will be putting that video out probably next week. I'm doing a video with a charitable organization for cleaning up beaches, and we will be doing that this weekend. Look forward to seeing the test footage from the Red Komodo and the Zhiyun Crane 2S footage combo together. I personally can't wait to see what it comes up with. If you guys enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, hit the subscribe and notification bell, and if you guys got knowledge out of it, let me know in the comments. And guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.